Good morning, Luanshya residents. This morning I want to explain how CDF money is supposed to be used in Luanshya constituency. I think it's something that every one of you know that the government of His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema has given this constituency, Luanshya constituency, 25.7 million. Now, a number of you might be wondering, how is this money supposed to be used? So I'm going to explain the scope of the CDF. Scope So I will give you the details exactly how this 25.7 is supposed to be used. The allocated amount, CDF allocated, is 25 million 700. So this is the money that the government has given to Luanshya constituency as CDF. But then, out of this money, 5% is supposed to be used for administrative costs. So we say less 5%, which is administration. So if you work out 5% of 25.7, 5% is 1,285,000. So the government has given us 25,700,000. Out of that, you take out 5% and you use it for administration costs. What does it mean, administration costs? Administration costs means the council will now buy some paper, they will buy pens, so that when they advertise, they have no excuse that they've got no paper. They are going to stick posters all over if there is anything that we are advertising as CDF. They are going to use some of the money to travel to go to schools where we have sent our children to go and confirm that indeed the children are in those schools. They are going to maybe put public address systems and go around the whole constituency to make sure that everything that the CDF is trying to let you know gets to you. Now, there should be no excuse. As long as you live in Luanshya constituency, there will be no excuse that I never heard about this, because the council is mobile. They can go to any part of this constituency. Should anything be advertised and it does not reach your ward, please let me know, because we've got this money. So what we are saying, if you subtract this, if you subtract the administrative cost from the constituency development fund which has been given to us, we are remaining with 24,415,000. This is the money that we have now to be used in Luanshya constituency. And this money will be divided into three main components. The first component is community projects. And community projects will be 60% of this money. So component number one is community projects. And community projects will be 60% of that money. And if you calculate 60% of this money, you will find that it is 14,649,000. 14,649,000. 49,000. So this is the money which will be spent on community projects. But again, this same money which is meant for projects, community projects, we are going to reserve 5% of this for disasters. In case tomorrow we have a disaster, we don't want to finish all this money on projects. We will keep 5% for disasters. So if you work out 5% of this, 5% is disaster contingents. It comes out as 732,450. So if you work out 5% of that, you get that. Meaning the balance, if you subtract this from that, the balance that will remain with, which can be used specifically for projects, comes to 13,916,550. This is the balance for community projects. So very quickly, let me go through. What I'm saying is, because community projects is 60%, so if you get 60% of that money, it comes to 14,649,000. But out of this, you reserve 5% for disasters. So this is the 732,450, which will not be used on projects but will be kept aside in case there is a disaster. Some of you might be asking me, what is a disaster? A disaster will be decided by the communities where you live. If something happens which you strongly feel is a disaster, you come together with your WDC, go to the DC's office and let him confirm it is a disaster, then come to my office. This money is at your exposure. Now, it therefore means this is the balance for projects. So when you see a project in Kalala, you see a project in Main Market, you see a project in Chitwi, you see a project in Fisenge, you see a project in Baluba, you see a project in Buntungwa, you see a project in Mwaiseni, all that money is this. So all the 16 wards must share this money to do the different kinds of projects. So component number 1 in CDF is the community projects, which is taking 60%. So we have already used the 60% of that. The next component is youth, women, and community empowerment. So number 2 is youth, women, and community empowerment. And this has been given 20%. So 20% should go to youth, women, and community development. Let's work out 20% of this CDF money that is there. If you work out 20% of that CDF, you will come up with 4,883,000. So what we are saying is 20% of that is going to be this one. Now this youth, women, and community empowerment, how is it shared? It is shared in 2 ways. One, in form of grants. And you get 40% of this money and it goes to grants. And if you find 40% of of that money which is for grants, it is coming to 1,953,200. That is 40% of this. Remember what I said? Youth, women, and community empowerment has been given 20%, and if we calculate 20% of this, we are getting 4,883,000. Now, this component number 2 is divided into two. The first one is grants, which is 40%. So if you work out 40% of that, you will find that. And the other one is loans. And loans is taking up 60%. So 60% of that is coming to 2,929,800, like that. So loans is 60%, and that is 2,929,000, that's a 9,800. We are done with youth, women, and community empowerment. And the last component is boarding schools, skills development bursaries. So the third one, is supposed to be 3, is boarding schools, skills development bursary. And this takes 20%. So the boarding schools skills development bursary is 20% of the money that is supposed to come to the constituency. And if you work out what 20% is, you find that you are coming up with 4,883,000, like that. So this is the money that we are now using to pay for the children, our children in schools and in colleges, in boarding schools and in colleges. Now, if you were to add this, you will find that it will get you to 25.7. So, in summary, what I have been trying to put across is that there is 25.7 million which has been sent to us. Out of that, you take 5%, it's administration cost. This is the money that you saw there. So we subtract that, we are remaining with 24,415,000. That is the money at our exposure, which we should use in this constituency. But then it is divided into 3 components. The first component is taking 60%, and that is community project. The other 2 components are each taking 20%. That is the women, youth, and community empowerment, and the boarding schools and skills development. So if you add the 20%, and 60%, it gives you 100%. And if you add these figures the way I've been showing you, take your time and look at them properly, it will come to 25.7. I think I've tried to explain how this CDF has been broken down. Those of you who still have some questions for me, feel free to visit me at my office, or you can call me on 0966 99 1430. Thank you so much.